Welcome, everybody, to another episode in Greeting Moshiach. This is episode, I think, 22. And I'm here together with Simcha in Crown Heights, the Rebbe's Shchona. And, a lot of people are getting ready. You see flyers everywhere. There's already an event in Florida preparing for Gimel Tammuz. And, we've been having discussions on what it means, what Gimel Tammuz is supposed to mean, what are you supposed to do. There's big discussions about what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to feel, what's going on. So, Simcha, I would like to, have a conversation about, what, I have my feelings, you have your feelings, but I think there has to be a understanding of what is Gimel Tammuz and how, and I guess then our opinion of what should it be and how should we act based on that.
Yeah, so I think we'll start off with you're growing up. What was your impression growing up before you had any big ideas? I think that's a good place to start.
That's definitely a good place to start. So I think growing up, it was all right. Gimel Tammuz, Yertzeit, Tzadei. So
it was Beferish Rebbe's Yertzeit.
Yeah. Very, very Beferish. It didn't really make sense because, talking about the Rebbe as Yechi is still alive. I remember we had a kid in my class who we made fun of, we thought that he was one of the people that thought the Rebbe was under the bima. We made fun of him like the Rebbe was under the bima, but we had a little. I don't know how to explain it, but whatever. There was an understanding that the Rebbe was still alive in some way, but then Gimel Tammuz would come and be like, okay, so what are we doing? And then we would go to the Oyel, and I remember. So as a kid, it was very I don't really remember what we did as a kid. It wasn't special. We didn't do anything special. Nothing stood out.
It was a special day,
right? Yeah, maybe we had a fabring in my house. As a bacher, you get an aliyah Shabbos before you go. If you, I think the first Gimel Tammuz as a bacher, I was in Tzfas, and we did the minhagim. We wrote a pan.
So copy and paste from what the Rebbe told the Chassidim of the Friedrich Rebbe to do for the Yertzeit of the Friedrich Rebbe.
The Rebbe writes there that those that are connected should this is what they should do on the how to commemorate, so to speak, the Yertzeit, the Hilula, Yom Hilula. And then as I got older, I think it was in Zal already. I was here for Gimel Tammuz, and I was sitting at the Shabbos table with my uncle, and we had a discussion. And by then I was already no, idealistic. We're not going to do it. Dafke.
So when did you come up with that?
I don't know. I think one year I just decided this makes no sense, and I'm not going to do anything. The Rebbe is clearly talking about Yud Shvat, and I'm going to choose not to do it on Gimel Tammuz. Why? Because you're going to tell me that what mean the Rebbe, this is what the Rebbe said. No, that's not what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said that about Yud Shvat, not Gimel Tammuz. So I don't have to do it. It's not something. And if the Rebbe is not telling me that this is what I have to do on Gimel Tammuz,
I don't want to.
Correct, I'm going to choose not to do it.
So you have those people who end up, they don't do the minhagim for the Friedrich Rebbe because they say I'm not a chassid, I'm kosher to the Friedrich Rebbe, and I'm not going to pretend like I am.
Right. So that.
Then you have people who say I'm not going to get a Gimel Tammuz. So you end up cut off from both sides.
Right. So
but this is not a discussion about Yud Shvat.
So it's actually interesting because this same uncle that I was having a conversation did it on Gimel Tammuz, but didn't do it on Yud Shvat because
it's consistent.
I'm not correct. I'm not. The Rebbe says because he pointed it out to me the inconsistency. Why are you doing it on Yud Shvat if you're not going to do a Gimel Tammuz? I'm like, that's a good point. The Rebbe says in the letter, those that are connected.
Yeah, but obviously the Rebbe considered everyone to be, so to speak, Mekusher to the Friedrich Rebbe because he's the Nasi Hadar. And the premise was that it's for Chassidim and people who care about the Friedrich Rebbe, and that obviously that's everyone, and therefore they're printed every year. Right.
That was for the longest time. That was
the understanding of Chassid is certainly the ones that didn't remember the Friedrich Rebbe was that we're doing this because the Rebbe cares about this.
This is the Rebbe
not so much because we personally are makosher to the Friedrich Rebbe.
It's a clear hirah what to do for Yud Shvat. This is how you celebrate the Yom Tov of Yud Shvat, and it also I think it I don't know this for certain, but it sounded like by the Fabringen, whatever, that it seemed that even in the later years, that when people were celebrating Yud Shvat, not outside Yom Elul, but also outside the Rebbe's accepting of the Nesios, that it was part and parcel of that also. That part of the Yud Shvat day of being the Rebbe's day also was to do this. This was like part of the hachana for Yud Shvat. It was also to doing that. So Yud Shvat, you have it, but Gimel Tammuz, like, do you have to do it? I don't know.
It's definitely an interesting question. That's what we're here to discuss.
Yeah, so
but I could share first my experiences growing up, for what I recall. So growing up, always it was obvious that I was alive. I can't say I really knew what that meant, but I knew it was very different than any other tzaddik.
Right.
Not like the Frierdiker Rebbe. I'm like the Alter Rebbe. The Rebbe's alive. Whatever it meant that he was the Rebbe before, he was still the Rebbe, and then nothing changed, and then business as usual, so to speak. Didn't know exactly what that meant, but it definitely meant that Gimel Tammuz, was obviously a significant day, but in no way was it the Rebbe's yard site. Like, that wasn't the word I ever used or heard. Like, that wasn't. It's not a yard site. It's not a Yom Hilula. We never used, if I could help it, the lashon of Zia and all the things, the fiction, so to speak, that apply with someone's yard site.
Right.
Were totally not on the table. What is it? Yeah, this I couldn't tell you. It's a day to Island Pastor. That's what it was.
Right.
It's a very sad day, or like some Chassidim say, it's the most confusing day of the year.
I hear that.
Yeah, So I spoke to a friend of mine who has a very different outlook than me, and it's because he grew up differently, so it makes you have a very different opinion about things. And he grew up that it's like Yud Shvat, but by us it's Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz is the Rebbe's yard site, my Rebbe's yard site. This is such a special day. It's amazing, and he felt that it's in no way confusing. It's not a contradiction. It's I have a Rebbe. The Rebbe is very real to me, and this is his yard site. This is the most special day that could possibly be.
Wow.
And it's like, I totally didn't grow up the way. I don't see it the way, and I don't think it makes any sense. But he did grow up the way, and to him it does make a lot of sense.
Right.
And it does resonate.
Right.
And
That's very
it works,
Yeah. Huh.
So a lot of this is hergishi, when it comes to these things, obviously.
Correct.
But getting to the meat and potatoes of the issue here, Gimel Tammuz is not a yard site. The Rebbe is not a tzaddik like other tzaddikim. The Rebbe is not a Rebbe like other Rebbes. The most important factor here that we cannot ignore is you have to ask yourself, why did nobody think Gimel Tammuz would happen? There's a reason we're all confused about Gimel Tammuz. How come we're not confused about any other tzaddik's yard site?
Right.
Well, why is there no eighth Rebbe, right? Well, why? There's a reason. And
1 second. So let's.
Yeah.
A lot of statements there.
Yeah.
Aha. So right. That makes sense, right? If you're listening to people that were there and they were part of the things before Gimel Tammuz, right? It wasn't. If you talk to people that were in it, not people that were observing. There was no. It's so interesting.
So the reason why they didn't think so, I heard this on a different podcast recently. I don't know if he was agreeing that we should still think that, but at least at the time, it was obvious to them from both learning the Rebbe Sichos and the way everyone verbringed and spoke and understood what the Rebbe was saying. It was clear that the Rebbe was going to be and is Melech HaMashiach, and he was going to take us out of Galus. That was fact. And it's obvious that with that in mind, of course, Gimel Tammuz is not an option. That would take us out of Galus. What Gimel Tammuz? Right. So, and this wasn't something that was invented like in Memches or in Beis or in Daled. This was something that was the undercurrent, so to speak, from Basar Lagani. When the Rebbe first started and said that this is going to be the Derech Shvi, the last generation of Galus, that it's our job to bring the Gula. And the Rebbe continued with that theme. His entire shlichus was, he's clearly koching it, trying to bring the Gula. And that came to a fore in the nuns. And the Rebbe was all the way pushing that he's Mashiach and that the Gula is imminent until he said the actual Nevuah. He needs a Mashiach Ba, La'alta L'Gula. It was clear then the Rebbe started speaking about Kabbalah Pnei Mashiach Tzekenu and all these things. Mashiach is Bez Galos. Mashiach is revealed. We just need to go greet him. He's taking us out of Galos. Followed up by Yechi. There was, by a lot of Chassidim, just to give some context, there was 0% chance that Gimel Tammuz was going to happen. There was no way. It was impossible. The Rebbe was taking us out of Galos. So they weren't even so concerned about the health problems of what was going on. Right. I mean, he was sad that I was in pain or whatever it was, unfortunately, whatever it was, but it didn't matter because...
Right, it was part of the Mashiach.
For sure, the Rebbe was taking us out of Galos, so there's nothing to be concerned about. And this was the generic... Now, there were some people tell you that they thought differently, and it's very possible, but this was a very mainstream way of looking at it. And like we said, based off of the Rebbe's Sichos, not...
And not just the Rebbe's Sichos, also the Rebbe's Hanaga for that whole year, those few years.
So, people will point out afterwards, you could say the Sicha of, was it Zayin Shvat, about the Iron Akayin Yinaviecha, and then the Rebbe wrote a will, etc. There were some things that showed that maybe he left open a possibility of something that's happened. But generally speaking, it was not considered something that was even on the table. So, now that Gimel Tammuz did happen, you have to ask yourself, do you say, well, I'm just going to cancel all of that, I guess we were wrong? Or do you say, well, obviously, that is the truth of Piteda, and what we're seeing now is some sort of Halam Behester, and we shouldn't take it too seriously? That's really the question, our perspective here. Mm-hmm. If the Rebbe is really Melech HaMashiach, and that's still true, you have to first figure out if you still think that's true. If you think that it was all a big tefillah and Yehiratzin, then this podcast is not for you. go see our previous episodes. Then whatever. Then obviously it's a yard side. The Rebbe was a great tzaddik. He was a great Rebbe, and better luck next time. And really, we should really get an eighth Rebbe then.
But in that scenario, you need another Rebbe. You need another Nasi.
Then there's no reason not to have an eighth Rebbe.
Correct. And it's a problem that you don't.
Correct.
It's very interesting.
Why are you pretending like the Rebbe is still the Nasi?
Which is a very good sefer. Everybody should learn it. And over there, it lays out in very short, but it gives you all the sources. You can learn it much more extensively about the importance of a Nasi Adar, and not just the importance, but it's so central to Judaism, to Yiddishkeit. The way you connect to God is through the Nasi Adar. You need a Nasi Adar. You need to connect to the Nasi Adar in order to properly connect to the Eibishter.
Yeah.
So by saying that Gimel Tammuz and this whole thing about the Mashiach, and it was a nice try, and Gimel Tammuz is a yard site, it's a big problem. You have an obligation. So it's actually very interesting that I put out
an op-ed.
Like an op-ed, yeah, about the Shmini, the kid that brought it up, and about how it's very important that we get the story straight, because especially this that we say that the Rebbe is Nasi Adar, and then we make a whole big deal about Gimel Tammuz, like you're saying, it for a kid it doesn't make any sense. It confuses kids, and then they start saying weird things, and at a certain point they just throw everything out because it's like
right. So this is what you have to ask is, what's the narrative? If the narrative is that the Rebbe is okay, so if the Rebbe in fact did tell us the truth, obviously, and it's not a big Yehiratzin, that means that the Rebbe is still Mashiach, and he's still taking it out of Galus. Mashiach is already revealed, and we're holding in some interesting in-between period where the Rebbe still doesn't yet have the ability, unfortunately, to take us out of Galus, and we have a Avodim Yuchedes, the Aviyah says Galus Apayel Ba'ilam, to really bring out the Geula, and the Mashiach should take us out of Galus fully. And that's the job we have now to make that happen. It's obvious then that the Rebbe having a yahrzeit doesn't fit into this theme. We're holding Otat by the Geula. The Rebbe is taking us out of Galus. This is the whole koch of the entire Lubavitch. Your whole avodah. You wake up in the morning, like the Rebbe says, before Moedani, you already have the Avin Shel Mashiach. This is what it's all about. What yahrzeit? What are you talking about? The whole thing doesn't start.
It doesn't compute.
It doesn't make any sense. Gimel Tammuz doesn't make any sense. Was a Gimel Tammuz. So whatever the halachas are, you have to look at whatever. So you'll bury him and you say kaddish. But But it's fake news. Like Rashi says by Yaakov Avinu. That the Afagav, the Chatuch Hataya, like you were saying, Chatuch Hataya was Saptis Abdaya. It's fake news. Ma'azar B'chaim, the Gemara makes a hekesh. Ma'azar B'chaim, it's not like people think. People don't understand the Gemara.
I just saw a clip today about that. I was saying that, everybody's making a nice whatever, that Ki'ilu, like, no, not Ki'ilu. Not Chavadimyan. It's not a Chavadimyan. It makes it very, very clear.
The Gemara is not saying that because through his Trojan he's alive.
Right.
That's not shot of the Gemara.
And you know what everybody does say about Mazar B'chaim Mafu B'chaim, that it's Taka, that he's living on through us. No, that's not what.
That's not what. It's a nice pirush that it says that sometimes some sichas. It's not what the Gemara says. Right. What the Gemara says is the Gemara is making a hekesh. Whatever it is. Mazar B'chaim. That's the proof. The Gemara uses that as a proof. Afu B'chaim. Therefore, we know
that he's alive.
That is the proof that he too is actually alive. Right. And Rashi learns it Kapshuta. And it's Pashut and Achizes Naim. Nidma Lahem Shemes. It appeared to them that he died, but he wasn't really alive. He wasn't really dead. And like Chaim says that Yosef kissed him because he really was alive, so it wasn't a problem. He knew the truth.
By the way, that's an halachic.
Ramification. So yet, there's certain things you have to do, Torah tells you, because he looks to you like he passed away, even though you know it's not true, even up with Torah. Torah also tells you because it looks a certain way, you have to bury it. You have to say Kaddish. You have to say, the question becomes now, how far do you take it? Some people say, Taka, you're correct. I've heard it from some Mashpiyim. It's all fake news. There's gerecht. The Rebbe is Chai V'Kayim. The Rebbe is our Rebbe. He's taking us out of Golas. This is the Shturim. And along with the halachas are the Menhagim. And you have to prove the Menhagim. The Rebbe is not a Gan Eden. He's not going up any Elis and Shemayim, so there's no reason to say Mishnayos. All the Menhagim don't really apply. What you really earth a candle for? All these Menhagim have to do with a person finishes his Avodah in the world and getting Aliyah and Shemayim. The Rebbe finishes Avodah in the world. We're Irish holding. This is the whole. We're at the cusp. So talking like my friend was saying, but like, so to speak, as each phase of the Rebbe's Nesias ended, there was a histalkus of that part of the Rebbe's Nesias. So when the Rebbe stops for breaking during the weekday, so there's a histalkus of that Indian. So the Rebbe finished with that Avodah.
So we should observe all the.
We should observe all the. so too, with the Rebbe's Avodah, so to speak, the way he was interacting with us physically, there's a histalkus of that Indian. So there's an aliyah of that Indian.
Well, why do you have to celebrate each histalkus?
Calling all the things histalkus because the Rebbe stopped doing something is a histalkus. It's a bit wishy-washy.
Yeah. It's also a weird use
of the word. Yeah, no, because it explains in Tanya the histalkus means.
Right. Okay.
Doesn't mean removing. It means that it's there in a mark of the Gaivin.
Right. So I hear you.
It's not peculiar. The Rebbe's not. You can't see the Rebbe now. Most of us, at any rate. So what are you supposed to do? So my hegesh is that as much as you can, try to not do the minhagim if you don't have to, because Taka they don't apply, because they're not on theme, because the Rebbe is not being done in Gan Eden. The Rebbe didn't finish the Avodah in the world. The Avodah is to bring the Gula. That is the Rebbe. He's here to bring the Gula. And we're still in the middle of that. Until we do that, Tavavalerik. To quote the Rebbe. This is the job. This is the mission. This is what matters. So the Rebbe is right now in the middle of his Avodah to bring the Gula. It's up to us right now. But the Rebbe explains, it's up to Mashiach. We're the ones maybe who have to make it happen, but
right.
The thing is, he's on Mashiach right now. He has to take us out of Gala. So how could you? What has no and you know from the Gemara, Mashiach is sitting at the gates of Rome. Mashiach is doing one bad digit at a time. Any second he's waiting to take us out of Golas. Mashiach's not in Gan Eden being that Shechina.
Yeah.
That's so. Why would you want to prave the yard site? The Rebbe has a yard site, and he says we'll celebrate his life, his living legacy, how we continue on in the mission, as if. And you try to fit in for you still the Rebbe, and it gets all confusing, and it doesn't really work. You say, there's such a far, like I mentioned, that it doesn't make sense, and you should do them anyways, because it's Zaydah from Tan. Okay, after. But
the issue is like I was saying, is that it doesn't work, because at the end of the day, other people don't know what your Hergish is. They just see what your Hanhag is.
Then once part of those Menhagim is getting yourself a new Rebbe also.
Correct.
If you want to follow the Menhagim.
Correct. If you want to follow,
if it's the same thing like Yud Shvat, where we had a Lepoyo with all the things that Rebbe said about the Fidig Rebbe is with us and he's alive and the Shemfim Fidais the Gar is a Nachmar Lebedike, Nachmar Starke, Nachmar Active. It was Lepoyo. There was another Rebbe on the ground. Because the Rebbe explains, Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama must always be in the Guf Gashmi of the Nasi Ader. Not in all the Am, that's but in the Nasi Ader. And therefore, the Rebbe is still alive. Moshe's neshama is still in the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't go anywhere. He's with us. There's a Halam, and what's Gimel Tammuz? It's a Halam B'Hester. There's a mimer of the Rebbe, Hasam Noshein B'Chayim. It's a Gimel Tammuz mimer. And there the Rebbe explains Korach's mistake, that he wanted Helam for the sake of Helam. He says, why? Because Helam is a good thing. Gashmis is a good thing. The Eibishter created the second day separation between the heavens and the earth, and it's really much higher. And he's correct that the last love will be revealed. The sherish of Gashmis and of Tzimtzum, and which you need Tzimtzum to create Gashmis, is really much higher. The problem is during Galus, it's impossible to reveal that. You'll just end up with Yinichet Techitzenim. It doesn't work. During Galus, you have to want Gilei. During Galus, Tzimtzum is B'Shvela Gilei. During Galus, you need the Mayim Tachtenim. The Eibishter separated between the higher and lower waters in the second day. Mayim Tachtenim Beichen Anan Bein Lemeva Kami Malka. We want to be with the higher waters. Only after doing that, Lasad Lavai will it be revealed the Maila of the Mayim Tachtenim themselves. But during Galus, Gimel Tammuz is not a good day. It's not a Maila. You have to want the Gilei. And you have to make sure also, whatever you say to Pshat, because this could really work in any way you understand it, but the point is, what should be the Hergish? It's a day of pain. It's not a day of celebration. We're not Lag Beimer is the day we celebrate the life of the Ashby. All of his things are Begilei. Gimel Tammuz is a day of extreme pain. It's not of longing, of chassidin, that they want to be with the Rebbe. They want the Rebbe to take them out of Galus. That's the focus. The art set of any tzaddik is very sad. But in retrospect, it becomes a celebration of their life. Because on that day, their life is shining. By the Rebbe, it's about the mission at hand right now. And as an aside, I feel like the Rebbe is a good test. If you want to have ashpas, they'll give you ashpas. if you want to prove, the Rebbe is not going to tell you how to do this. In general, about the whole Kabbalah Malchus thing, the Rebbe will go with you. He's not going to. It has to come from the Am. So if you want to prove that the Gimel Tammuz is the yard site and you're going to get ashpas, fine, you'll have the ashpas.
It'll happen.
Whatever, yeah, you'll have brachas, you'll have whatever you need. It's obviously a very special day, but that's not the Indian. And I've heard it explained. What should it be compared to Tisha B'Av? Does anyone make a hachana for Tisha B'Av? Like it sounds crazy. We do things. We learn Hilchos Beis Bechira. We kochen it. We talk about it. But we don't prepare. We don't make hachana. Is what you make before you get a great hashpah. You want to have proper keli and make hachana because of the great special day. And like I said, right? Yeah, as we come closer to the Gula, just like Tisha B'Av, even though obviously Chassidim we care tremendously about the Galus and the Galus of Shechina and the Galus we don't have the Gula. Yet we tend to treat we tend to try to be happy and as much as we can not be too sad on Tisha B'Av. We throw beans and then we get upset at people for throwing beans and then we talk about the. Anyways, what's the point? That as we get closer to the Gula, like when Tisha B'Av fell out on Shabbos, the Rebbe was so happy, and eating even about Shal Shudas. We're going towards the Gula. We have our eye towards the future. We're not looking back. This that we're saying you have to want Gila doesn't mean living in the past. We're looking forward to the Gula, that the way it should be. The Rebbe needs to take us out of Galus, like he promised us, and. A lot of this is captured in the song, is a camp song, in the early praise to the tune of Vani Mammon. And it captures a lot of the points there. It's very meduyik, if anyone knows the song. And it really kind of captures the feeling of how he's going to the oil, he's crying, but the Rebbe is crying and he's here with us, really. And I know you're truly alive, and you're leading us, guiding us, and giving us life. That's the key function of the Nasi Ador, that he gives life to the entire generation, to the entire people. He's still giving us life. Nothing changed. And yet we're asking that he should come back. What does that mean? Because Lamata down here that we should see you. Then, and fulfill your promise, take us out of God, as it says there. You're crying, Yechia Melech. That's what you're crying. That's the theme. It's one thing. The Rebbe told us he would take us out of Galus. He needs to take us out of Galus. Doesn't mean we give up and just fill us the chafem. The whole point is Lapayel that we're left in this situation after Gimel Tammuz. Take a hint. It's up to us to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? They have a job to do, and we have to do it. So, as we approach Gimel Tammuz this year again, obviously we kachin and connecting to the Rebbe, but connecting to the Rebbe, not just Stam. The key factor here is because he's Melech HaMashiach.
It's interesting.
It's easy to kachin the skashros, but don't lose sight of the goal here.
The ultimate skashros is Kabbalah Samachos. It's the ultimate
correct.
That is the ultimate connection
correct.
Between a nation and its king.
And like we explained previously, episode 12, the Rebbe and Mashiach, they're very closely related. It's the same idea, like the Rebbe explains. The Nasi Adar is the Mashiach Shabbat. So before the Rebbe, Mashiach is the Rebbe is Mashiach, we know. But we need to focus on what's Negeyah to bring the Geula to focus on is that the Rebbe is Mashiach. And that has to be the Kach. And hopefully before even this airs, we'll already have the Geula Mitzvah Shlema, and the Rebbe will take us out of Golos, Pekad of Mamish.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. To close, first of all, like, share, subscribe, comment. Very important that you should comment and share this video, especially if you agree with it. If you disagree with it, definitely leave a comment. We're taking sponsorships. If anybody would like to sponsor an episode, or even in the middle of an episode, they can give something. There's money and time put into this.
Link in the description
The
below.
link will be in the description of Mr. Shem. And yes, thank you for those people that listened to all the episodes until now. Thank you for being with us. Those people that haven't, this is their first episode. Please definitely go back and listen to the previous episodes. They're very, very important, very foundational to this podcast and to what we say. And if you have any suggestions for people that we should speak to on the podcast, please don't be embarrassed to email me, levipolachenko@gmail.com. Will be linked here. And have a beautiful day, a beautiful week. And we should have Mashiach, like Simcha said. V'yigalenu.
Amen.
ועד כדי כך המדב גולהוב מהדר עם זול מחי זין ישי המלך.